David Pollack of the Worldwide Leader in Sports joining me here now on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, David?
Doing good, Rich. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. Better, I guess, mentally and perhaps spiritually than Charlie Strong right now. He is essentially coaching his last game Friday, correct?
No, he is. Yeah, he is. And it's been a disappointment. It's been a disappointment to see Texas and the way they've handled Charlie from Jump Street. But it's also, let's not take away from the coaching job and what they did. I mean, he's 16-20. And you just mentioned losing to Kansas. Kansas is 1-20. So that's a horrible loss. Every time he built any kind of momentum, Rich, he took it right away. Last year they beat OU, and everybody's going crazy, happy, excited. Then they lose to Iowa State. This year they beat big win against Notre Dame, perceived big win, come back, lose to Cal. So they couldn't build any momentum. Fired an offensive coordinator last year during the season, fired the DC this year during the season, never could get the right mix of coaching, and obviously when he started it was Mac Brown's players, and so they had to do that process, and it wasn't a good fit, and Charlie definitely is a great man, awesome man, and a good coach, and we'll see him again coaching somewhere else.
So who's the guy? Who's, like, I guess, their Urban Meyer, their Harbaugh that they could pull out of for their fan base to throw out there? Is there somebody from the Texas family?
It's got to be Tom Herman, and he was a graduate assistant at Texas to start his coaching career. It's not Urban Meyer, it's not Jim Harbaugh, but Tom Herman brings offensive excitement. He brings discipline. He brings toughness. He brings he loves his players. His players will always love him. I think you've seen a start drop off from Ohio State's offense from when he left, and because he's one of the best offensive coaches in all of football. And I think he's 1A, 1B, 1C. Now listen, Rich, we've seen this before too. Now a couple years ago, Texas fired Mac Brown several years ago without a plan B, and it looked like it was Nick Saban was what they were going after. And then they go 5 or 6 down the list, and all of a sudden now they're sitting there with Charlie Strong, and it didn't work. So I hope it's more than Tom Herman at the list, but Tom Herman definitely is going to be number 1, 1A, 1B, 1C.
David Pollack joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, what do you think is going to happen in the Horseshoe on Saturday?
I think everything about this game points to Ohio State, but listen, you're playing at home, which is a huge advantage. One thing to look at with Michigan, they played 2 teams out of conference, or 2 teams away from home in conference play. That was Rutgers, who doesn't have a pulse, and Michigan State, who has 1 conference win on the season. They struggled a little bit with Michigan State. Then they go to Iowa, and they struggle. This is at the Horseshoe, a tough environment. Now you're without your starting quarterback, and John O'Korn's going to start, obviously. And Wilton Spates, listen, he came out last week and all that good stuff, and maybe he miraculously heals by this week, but I don't think so. So you're asking me to pick J.T. Barrett at home versus John O'Korn on the road in his second start for Michigan. I think it's a tough task to overcome for Michigan.
What about the idea there was an O'Connor last year for Michigan State, and he went into that spot and won, right? I mean, that's all I'm hearing back from Ohio State fans when they're like, when I mention our backup quarterback, that's all they're throwing back in my face.
No, and what about 2 years ago in the college football playoff when Ohio State won it with their third-string quarterback? So, I mean, we've definitely seen it. It would be a surprise. Michigan doesn't run the football great. They're not overly explosive on offense. I know they have Darbo and Butt, but besides that, I don't think there's a ton of explosiveness. This Ohio State defense is really – I think it's a low-scoring game. If you can force J.T. Barrett into a few mistakes, I'll say this, too, about J.T. Barrett. I don't trust J.T. Barrett in cold weather or bad weather. I don't know what it is. He'll make a great throw, but then he's off the mark. And you have to make him beat you deep down the field, and that's where he struggles the most, is throwing the deep ball. So I don't expect a lot of high scoring, and I don't expect it to be a blowout by any stretch. I just think when you're Ohio State and you're at home and you got the experienced quarterback and you got all the talent all over the field, I think you should win this game.
And David Pollack will be there with Reese Davis and the gang, and Kirk Herbstreit and Fowler will be part of that broadcast. It's going to be an exciting day from Columbus, Ohio on Saturday here. Joining me now on the Rich Eisen Show, what do you think about 2 Big Ten teams making the Final Four here, David?
I got no problem with it. I think we're charged with getting the best 4 teams. I don't care which conference it is. If you're telling me you're going to get the best 4 teams, get the best 4 teams. And I don't care if Penn State, if Ohio State beats Michigan, and they're not a conference champion, and Penn State goes to the conference championship game and wins, I'm still okay with Ohio State being over Penn State. And I say that because, yes, Penn State beat them, but Ohio State only has one loss on the year. Ohio State went to Norman and spanked down Oklahoma. I definitely don't have a problem whatsoever having two Big Ten teams in the college football playoff.
David, what are you hearing about the conversations that are being had behind closed doors for this committee? Because if you are looking at wins, losses straight up, that's one thing. If you're looking for teams that are playing well and would give the best games on a New Year's Eve that was ratings challenged last year, you'd have to look at USC right now. And this kid, Sam Darnold, and the way they are playing, they, over the last 6 weeks, you could make a case they've been playing better than the Alabama team that smoked them in week 1 of this season.
Dude, they're playing awesome. And another thing, too, is, again, I don't care because I'm going to tell you what I feel. If USC played Penn State, I think USC would easily win the game. If USC played Wisconsin, I think USC would win the game. So the committee is charged to overlook things. And if USC doesn't play Alabama out of conference, who knows what goes down. But, yeah, listen, if Darnold played against Stanford, does anybody doubt that they would have beat Stanford? I don't. I think they would have beat Stanford. They should have beat Utah. But the resume obviously isn't going to be the best. But when you look at that team and you watch them play, and the same could have been said for LSU the last couple of weeks too, but they lost to Florida, obviously, so that dings that discussion. But USC, to me, definitely playing like one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, but I guess there's that three losses. I mean, that's the bottom line is they didn't play Darnold early, and if they did, maybe they wouldn't have those 3 losses. But September counts just as much as November.
I agree. We have to take that into account. And 3 losses is too much this season to overcome. But if it was a 2-loss USC and one of them was to Alabama, I wonder what the conversation would be. It would be so interesting to find. I wish they would have beat Utah and wish we could have had this debate because I think it would have been fascinating. And USC definitely just they got dudes all over the field. Y'all watch them out there. I mean, it's crazy to watch Ronald Jones carry the rock and throwing it to Juju Smith. And the defense, too, they've played so much better and grown up with all those young guys throughout the season. All
right, David, so you think I'm going to be a very unhappy kid and camper by the time 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock Eastern hits on Saturday? Is that what you're saying?
I'm thinking you might be, but hey, here's the thing: that game's a coin flip game. So I mean, it's not like it'd be a good thing for you to step up, to rise up, Rich, and get happy. But we'll see how it works, man. We'll see how it works.
David, thanks for calling. We'll get you back on shortly. I'd love to chat with you again when things get more solidified.
Anytime, big dog. Anytime.
You got it. That's David Pollack.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.